Hey guys, it's Sam here, and I'm going to open up my wide receiver cornerback matchup clip by giving some praise to Patrick Peterson. No team in the NFL has employed the shadowing strategy where a cornerback goes around covering one wide receiver no matter where he lines up for the majority of his routes, quite like the Arizona Cardinals through Patrick Peterson. Every single game the Cardinals have played, Peterson has shadowed a wide receiver. Now, those wide receivers include Marvin Jones Jr., T.Y. Hilton, Dez Bryant, Pierre Garcon, Alshon Jeffrey, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, and Marquise Goodwin. Now, those wide receivers, when being shadowed by Patrick Peterson, have gone 6 for 17 for 119 yards and 1 touchdown. And that 1 touchdown came to Marvin Jones Jr. in the first game of the season, where Jones was shadowed by Patrick Peterson for 93% of his routes, and the one target he got ended up being a 6-yard touchdown. So when Patrick Peterson is shadowing a wide receiver, they've only gotten targeted 17 total times on the season. He's a true shutdown cornerback, and when he's guarding you, your quarterback is going to look elsewhere. This week, that lucky wide receiver is Doug Baldwin. Now, the Seattle Seahawks were very subdued last week against the Washington Redskins defense after putting on an onslaught against Houston's defense, but they didn't score until the fourth quarter last week, and the wide receivers were really held in check until Doug Baldwin beat Josh Norman on a blown assignment. But if he's going to be covered by Patrick Peterson, Russell Wilson is going to have to look elsewhere. Jimmy Graham and Paul Richardson are both dealing with injuries during the week, as we've seen from practices. So Tyler Lockett's going to have to step up, and if those two wide receivers end up playing, they're going to have to step up as well. But Patrick Peterson is no laughing matter. You're going to have to get your offensive production done through other wide receivers who are not being covered by Patrick Peterson. The next game I want to talk about is what should be a very exciting game, the Broncos and the Patriots. Now, the Broncos have given up a lot of points over the last few weeks. They were blown out by the Chargers, they were beat handily by the Chiefs, and they were blown out again by the Eagles. But that's not all on the cornerbacks. Yes, they did give up 7 passing touchdowns, but they held Carson Wentz to only 199 passing yards, Alex Smith to only 202 passing yards, and Phillip Rivers to only 183 passing yards. A big issue for their defense is that their offense keeps turning the ball over, and they're given very short fields to work with, and there's only so much you can ask a defense to do. Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., and Bradley Roby are still graded very high as cornerbacks, and they're not going to give up very many yards to one receiver. The Broncos don't really use a shadowing strategy, so Brandon Cooks is going to see a lot of Bradley Roby, who lines up. Brandon Cooks lines up on the left 55% of his routes, and Roby covers that left side 91% of the time. Roby might be the weakness. If you're looking for a weakness in the Broncos secondary, it's going to be Bradley Roby as opposed to Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. But it's the Patriots, and with Tom Brady throwing the ball, literally anything can happen. Amendola lines up in the slot 89% of his snaps, and Chris Harris Jr. moves there virtually every time there are 3 wide receivers in the field. So we may see a lot of Gronk. The Broncos are very weak against the tight ends, and they are very good one-on-one against wide receivers, even though they've given up 7 passing touchdowns. So it's going to be a very interesting game. There are so many variables involved. The fact that the Broncos defense has been beat, the fact that Chris Hogan is injured, Brady might go to Gronk, he might go to his running backs. So it's going to be a very interesting game nonetheless to watch how it's all going to play out. The third game I want to talk about is Miami against Carolina. Damian Williams and Kenyon Drake are now the feature running backs of Miami, and that was able to open things up a little bit last week for the Miami offense against the Raiders. Jay Cutler was able to throw for 313 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is a very similar number to what the Panthers gave up last week to Matt Ryan, which was 313 yards for 2 touchdowns. Pro Football Focus gives Devontae Parker a 45% advantage over James Bradbury, and they give Jarvis Landry a 36% advantage over Captain Munnerlyn. None of the Panthers' cornerbacks have earned a Pro Football Focus grade higher than 48, and both Landry and Parker have grades of 81. So this might be the week where we can really see an offensive identity in the Dolphins. Adam Gase has been so frustrated and so furious with this offense, but Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker are both great wide receivers. It seemed like with the opening of that running game, with running backs who are good in the passing game too, Jay Cutler was really able to throw the ball around. Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry both got loose. So I think they'll both get loose again against a very weak Panthers secondary, and we could really see the Dolphins exploiting that.